Can you introduce yourself for our audience and give them a bit of background on your work and your professional life?
Yeah, my name is Dr. Oliver Mupila. I'm a Zambian based in Lusaka, Zambia, in the southern region of the continent. And I'm a healthcare provider, though I'm not practicing right now. I used to do that when I was in the United States of America until 2011, when I got back home. So right now, I'm more into human rights per se. I'm a human rights defender certified by the Frontline Defenders, which is an organization based in Ireland, Dublin. So basically, I'm more into environmental issues, things to do with pollution of water. Like right now, as I speak, we have an incident in the northwestern part of Zambia, where there's a mine in the name of Kalumbila Minerals Limited, where this mine has issues to do with pollution, where a number of boreholes that it did in the name of corporate social responsibility, which for me is a fake corporate social responsibility, has polluted a number of boreholes, which have affected hundreds of people, indigenous local people. So I'm more into that kind of work right now, where the mine has been taken to the High Court, yeah, of Lusaka, Zambia. Yes. I think that's where I am right now.
And you're also from a village where you grew up traditionally in the Lunda Empire, originally with the Lunda people, and you learned about indigenous medicine.
Yes, I'm from a village called Kameya. Basically, Kameya is more like our clan or family name. So that village is in the chiefdom of Chibwika. Chibwika is one of the royal highnesses, one of the royals from the Lunda Empire, or the Lunda Royal Establishment, which was started way back around 1080, yeah, until now. So I happen to be a subject of the Chibwika Royal Establishment. And basically, my village from where I'm sitting right now is about 900 kilometers from the capital of Zambia. So it is in a district called Mwinilunga. And in Lunda, typically, we, instead of saying Mwinilunga, we say Mwinilunga, Mwinilunga. So that's the original name. Yeah, so that's the area where I'm from. And though I basically live in the capital in Lusaka, but of course the village is there. We do go, we travel to and forth. Yeah, because I mean life has changed now, but of course we are indigenous people, so we can't do away with modern life. Yeah, everybody who is in the capital, most of them, they have their villages, so they come and go. So, and then looking at the issue of indigenous knowledge and the indigenous people, they have a lot of wisdom. They've been around for centuries. And then most of the knowledge is passed from, you know, the elders to the younger ones, because it's oral, it's never written. Except for those of us who are learned, what we've done is we've documented some of the indigenous knowledge. Like right now, like as I speak, I've been working on indigenous plant medication from 2000. the year 2000 until this year 2020, when I established a company called Bantu Medical Africana, which is able to process or make medicines. So we are dealing with medicines that can help in terms of chronic diseases like epilepsy, diabetes, fibroids, prostate cancer, and others. Yeah, so these are the medications that we are dealing in. Though we haven't gone fully fledged because of resources and finances, but as we go on, we'll be able to do what? To start producing those. We've already got the samples and everything, and these medicines are certified by the Food and Drug Control, which is a department of the Ministry of Health of the Republic of Zambia. So we are not dealing with medicines like from the caves that is not authenticated or certified. So this kind of medicine is medicine that can even be sold in the United States of America, Canada, Australia, you name it. So we are no longer the people like living in caves. Yeah, we are out of the caves per se. So this is a modern world. So no caves. Yeah, so that's where we are now.
What is the connection in your mind about your practice and your future? How does the indigenous knowledge connect with what people need today, or with a modern interpretation of medical healthcare?
Basically, I'll tell you one thing. If somebody came from across the ocean and went into one of our forests or found some plant medicines and got them and took them to the States, Canada, or Germany, or whatever, they will say that person is a scientist. But basically, these are our medicines. So now, if we do the same thing, we'll be called healers, traditional things, and all this kind of stuff, which is not fair. Because these are the same medicines that the same people who come from across the ocean will take them, go and refine them, and bring them back here and be sold to our people. So what we're trying to say is the knowledge that we have acquired over the years should be used so that we can do the same thing by helping our communities and our locals, so that, I mean, we give back to the community by keeping the knowledge that has been there for years and years and years. So basically, when you look at the conventional medicine and the traditional or the herbal indigenous medication, I don't think there's any difference. The only difference is the regions, where we belong. But you know, when you look at the world now, it's a global thing. Yeah, you know, we are one. So it's just a question of time and period of time where this one is living and the other. But I mean, these are medicines that can even be sold across. So it doesn't matter what, as long as they don't kill anybody, they've been tested, certified. It's a question of investing into that, so that now if you go to some other countries like Ghana and in the western part of Africa, some of the hospitals right now are using herbal medicines. You have an alternative. You can choose what you want right now, whether you go conventional or the other way around. It's only that, you know, when you're dealing with politics in some other countries, I would say African politics is like a dog with a tail, because the dog doesn't know that it has a tail, and the tail doesn't know that it belongs to the dog. So these are issues where when you involve politics, you find out that what is being discovered here is like fake when it's not fake, because somebody wants to make money in the Western world when we can also make money here or give back to the community the things that we've discovered or we're able to give back. I think that's where the problem is. It's about politics. Yeah, we are very much aware about that.
Mm-hmm. Now, it sounds like you have a vision of the forest in Zambia and other African nations as a kind of natural pharmacy. This is a part of the patrimony, you know, of Zambia, part of the land. And do you see this as being something that needs to be protected? Are you concerned about biopiracy from Western companies who may take the formulations or the use of the medicines and then rebrand them with a shiny bottle and label?
I think it all begins from, I think, the likes of Columbus, Amerigo Vespucci, Diago, and others, all those guys who came from across the, the oceans, I would say. What is happening is when you go back hundreds of years ago, you'll find out that those who came to Africa had their own ways of looking at Africa in order to get what belongs to us. And then now the system hasn't changed, it's still the same. When these guys came from across the ocean, they came here because they wanted to get manpower. And then, of course, I'm sorry to say that transport was free because they came with their ships. And then our people, because of their muscles and the like, some of them, because they didn't know where they were going to be taken, they had to run away. Okay? Yeah, that's why most of our people got chained up, because, if somebody is going to take you to some place where you don't know, I mean, of course you can run away. And if they're interested in you, they'll put you in chains and take you across the ocean. But over the years, the system changed because they had a lot of people indigenous people that were taken across the ocean. So they said, no, we have stopped slave trading. We have to go back, use the locals to work for us, and then the material that they will produce, we can get it across the ocean, and those that we took across the ocean will start building. And it's the same thing. Right now, what is happening, the same people are coming back as investors. Actually, I've left out the part of independence where they came back and then, the liberation, independence, and all this kind of stuff, which was all fake. Yeah, we were independent even before, even now we are, but except there's an influence, of the same people who come from across the ocean, I call it, who are now coming in the name of investors. They are coming in as investors. So when you come in as an investor, it's because you are interested in certain resources that includes the plants, the trees, the minerals, and all this kind of stuff. So when we go back to the issue of environmental issues in terms of preservation of plants and medicines, I think when somebody comes and says, oh no, we have to preserve this, we have to do this. I mean, even before these people came, the plants, the environment and whatever was clean. Nobody was doing it for us. The indigenous locals were, I mean, if we were destroying our plants and doing all this kind of stuff, there would be no trees right now. But when this man came from across the ocean, because they've taken a lot of our plants, timber, this and what across the ocean. So what we're trying to say is right now with the knowledge that we have, we can give back to the community by sensitizing our own people. If we are going to remove plants and turn them into medicines, we have to plant back what we get in order to boost up the environment, to protect our indigenous plants, so that the future generations will be able to use them. So I think it's a question of finding a new system of how we are going to protect our environment. But when you go back to the issue of investors that come from across the ocean, this is a combination of politics with those who claim to be leaders when they put on plastic masks of African leaders and politicians because they've been bought by those who come from the ocean. I think it's the same thing. We're going back again to the ship and on the manpower and whatever. Now, because there's not enough resources in the Western world, so Africa, again, is being recolonized in some sort of, in terms of economics and politics. So I think the issue of preserving the environment, most of the degradation and pollution has been done by those so-called people who come here as investors. They set up mines, they set up certain companies where they know that after so many years, 20 years, 50 years from now, they would have reaped to take our resources and go across the ocean and continue with their programs while we are here on rocks. Yeah, I think Africans, even the indigenous local people here, have been doing this. They know how to conserve their plants, their trees. They've been living, without anybody. But except when this person came, or when these people came, now they have their own system of looking at African people to say that no, now you can do this, family planning that. We give you injections, so that you don't produce. I mean, were you there? Are you the ones? I mean, these people have been living without those things, and they lived. I mean, so there are a lot of things when people want to make money, they can come up with certain things to blind you. Yeah. So those of us who've been to school, of course, not everybody is educated in the villages or in Africa. Yeah, it's like we are educated, and then in a Western way and also in an African way. So we do understand these things the way they operate. But except we need a number of other Africans who should be more versed in looking at issues the way they come, and also trying to protect our land, our rivers, our biodiversity, because there is no way out if somebody is going to come as an investor, investing in a mine where they are going to pollute our rivers, kill our fish, kill our environment, so that 50 years from now, you cannot grow anything. You'll be importing food from across the ocean because there's somebody who is interested. They've already seen that 50 years, 100 years from now, Africans will not have food. They'll become slaves again because this, smart guy came 50 years ago and polluted your land, and then he's going to make up certain chemicals that you can buy as fertilization to, to make the land better. Yeah. So these problems are coming from across the ocean all the time. Thank you.
What do you see for the future specifically? Do you see the productization locally of medicinal indigenous herbs and treatments, or do you see the youth taking more care to be honoring of the village life and honoring of the traditional practices? Is this important to Zambia going forward, and how do you bring the youth to awareness?
I think the most important thing when you talk about plant medicine and indigenous knowledge, I think what is missing out is the issue of coming up with investments to invest into indigenous local programs or projects where the indigenous knowledge should be documented, like what we are doing right now, where documentaries about the way people live, coming up with institutions that are able to teach the local indigenous people to preserve their knowledge, which other indigenous local people would be able to use in future. Talk about if you have finances as a community or communities, you can put up an institution where you can be producing medicines that can even be sold in the Western world. If you look at China, India, we are buying their medicines from across the ocean. I mean, because they know there's a market here. The only thing that is missing is we have all the plants, all the medicines are here. Thousands and thousands of plants are in Africa. Minerals, you name it. Clean water is here. But except we've been labeled that our stuff is not good. So if you want to make something and take it across the ocean, there will be this, this institution, this is black, it was touched by somebody. But I mean, cool down, These are the people who get our stuff, take it across the ocean. The same thing they say is not good. You take it from Africa, take it to Europe, make it and bring it to Africa, and it's clean. Okay? Yeah, so I think there's a problem. So the most important thing is to invest in indigenous knowledge so that we have institutions where we can teach. Here's an example I'll give you. If somebody is going to do medicine in this country, it will take you like 7 years. Teaching somebody to be an indigenous doctor, certified with all the credentials and everything, it will only take you like 3 years, you know? Then these people will be able to be scientists, but they are indigenous local people who are scientists. You can bring in equipment that is able to produce medicines that can be sold in the Western world. Because I'll tell you one thing, in the Western world, there are more sick people than here in Africa. All these diseases, diabetes, obesity, craziness is there, it's in the Western world. So we can make something for them to buy in order to support. You know, it's you know, scratch my back, I scratch yours. So we have everything here. The only thing that is lacking right now is people who have resources, who can invest into the system, and also the Africans believing in themselves and preserving the knowledge that they have in order for it to be shared to the youth and the future generations to come, so that this kind of products that we have should be put in use for a long time. So the issue of saying no, African people are poor is because somebody is making them poor. If there were people who have the big money, you name them, the UN, the ILO, World Health Organization, World Bank, they can find smart people like me and others. There are many in Africa coming up with institutions where you can make medicines that can help old people, people aged 50 years and above. As I speak right now here in Zambia, most of the smart people don't have the finances, but they can partner as indigenous people with other people across the ocean who have resources in order to develop institutions that will be able to stand the test of time and develop a legacy that will benefit both people from across the ocean and those that are here.
In your mind, do you think specifically about the types of investment that you need versus the types of investment that you referred to earlier as being, you know, related to a modern slave trade? What kind of investments? What makes an investment good? Is there a shared percentage of the profit in a different way, or do you see any criteria that could be applied?
Basically, as at now, when you look at an investment, you must be able to look at 3 things. One, you have to look at the time, you have to look at the human resource and the capital. Yeah, these 3 things have to be present. Because as we speak right now, local indigenous people have all the time. The indigenous people are the resource themselves. And now the resources that they have can be translated into finances. So the question is, they must be able to be identified or to identify themselves with people from somewhere who would be interested to put in something in order for both of them to do probably a PPP kind of arrangement where those from across the ocean would be able to benefit and those who are on the continent will be able to be, you know, doing the actual labor and other things and being managed at that. I mean, these are things that you can come in, sit down, agree. This is how we are going to help the indigenous local people. And then there must be people who are educated to manage the institutions and whatever, and then give back to the community by building schools, clinics, clean water, and sensitizing the community in terms of keeping the environment clean.
You said PPP. Are you referring to people, planet, profit? Triple bottom line?
Oh, no. That is a private partnership
Okay.
kind of arrangement. Yeah, where those who have the resources can come in and trust people to work with. But
so that's like a joint partnership?
Yes,
Something
basically
like that?
you need to identify in each and every community there are people who've been to school. Yeah, people who've traveled, I'm one of those people. I lived in the United States of America for 18 years. Then I went to the university in Denmark. I've been to 21 countries, and I'm educated. I mean, I could be more educated than some people I've seen in the Western world. I've seen people in the Western world who cannot write. You know, they can't write. Zero. Yeah, they can only speak English, but they can't write. They are there. I've seen them. So I think there's no way out. Somebody will say, "Oh, no, the indigenous people don't know anything." Yes, there are also people I've seen in the Western world who can't write. Yeah. So who is smart? Yeah. Here is a question of not who is smart, but what we can do for the people by working together, whether we are smart or what. Today, for me, I don't believe in higher education because it's a sheer waste of time now. So if we want to develop the system in terms of indigenous local people or other peoples, the best thing we can do is find programs that are simple, where we can invest in a little. I'll give an example. If you send somebody to the university today, where I am in our country, it will cost you our money about 200,000 kwacha. Yeah, I don't know the equivalent because a dollar is like 20 kwacha. Our money is equivalent to $1. So you are going to spend 200,000 kwacha to train somebody for 5 years. Now, if you send somebody to go and learn how to grow tomatoes, it will cost you like probably $100. Okay? You train somebody to grow tomatoes, you spend $100 on them. Then in 6 months' time, they will be able to grow tomatoes, which they can sell and make money equivalent to the money somebody who is in the army or police would have worked for 30 years to make the money that guy who is grown tomatoes is going to make in 6 months. So that's where for me now, instead of wasting time sending people who come and sit on the street with a degree, it's much more better to invest in youths, indigenous local people, in programs where they would be able to produce something in a better way, quicker. Okay? So the issue of education, yeah, education for me is not having a degree. Education is understanding how things should be able to work. Education is putting food on the table. Education is understanding who is your neighbor. Education is understanding also who is coming to be with you. Yeah, it's not about the horse and the master, or the master and the horse riding thing. So I think that's where we have missed out, because you cannot boast to have educated so many people who end up to be on the streets, like what is happening. Right now, as we speak, we have over 60,000 people in this country, Zambia, who have degrees, but they're on the streets. Then we have over 30,000 people, nurses, clinicians, teachers, who are on the streets. They have no jobs. So if that investment was put in short-term programs where you teach them how to grow tomatoes, teach them how to keep beehives, I mean, everything will be fine. People will make money, okay? And come up now, invest in programs that can take care of the communities. Because when these people are investing, have learned, and they're growing something that can be sold, the government will be able to make tax out of the system. Then you can spread out across the country and put up state farms and all this kind of stuff. You also invest in tourism, traditional tourism, where people can come. You can put up good spaces of hotels or guest houses in the villages, because most of the people from the Western world, they are no longer interested in living in places that are polluted with gases and all this kind. They can come here in Africa, where they would be able to rest for 3 weeks, see some animals and whatever. So we need to reinvest and reinvent and re-educate our people, move away from all these people that are on the streets who have degrees. You can re-educate them on how to keep the environment, how to be ambassadors, how to be volunteers. I will take you back You've heard of the United Nations volunteers, whatever it is. These institutions, instead of using the local people to be volunteers, they bring people from across the ocean to be volunteers here when we have people who don't have anything here who can do those jobs. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Kiss, kiss, Kalombo.
Yes.
Yes.
Good day, good day.
Good day.
I want to ask you about the pressures on the forest, and starting with economic. So, do you see China making a big play to make deals? And do you see the same thing from Europe, for example? Is there a competition for resources because of the lack of resources in the Western world that you mentioned?
Yes. What it is right now with China, Europe, and the Americas is that China, you see, if I take you back to 1970, 1971, Zambia was 5, 10 times better than China in terms of economics, because we used to, our country, then our leadership, they used to hire Chinese people to come and make our rail lines. Okay? Now it has turned around. The Chinese are coming to hire us to make their things. So which means there is more potential in Africa. China has been smart for the past 30 years to come and invest in Africa by bringing in more resources, bringing in more of their people, so that whatever they bring in and make here, they can go and build China. So in some years from now, I can see China being on top of the ladder and the rest will be able to follow. So in short, it's not about being a giant. It's about being smart. Because I'll tell you, I mean, most Chinese people are not like giants and whatever, but they are thinking like giants. And those who are big by stature are thinking like dwarfs. Okay? So it's the opposite. So it's not about how you look, whether it's the color or if you live in a forest or whatever. It's what you bring to the table. So in short, China is smart. Yeah, China is the modern colonizer. You know, things have turned around because China is big and most of the countries and the other Western world countries are probably scared of China because China has invested. They have national banks in all of these African countries where the people can come in, they can borrow, they can get the money, they can agree, they can work, they can pay back. So China is putting in, you know, by investing in Africa. So it's not that they are coming in, they are just, I mean, smart. Everyone can be smart. Just like Africans can be smart to invest in the Western world. Yeah, it's a question of time. So when you are smart, even if you are here as an indigenous person, you can invest in real estate in London, in New York, and whatever. I mean, there are no boundaries. It's a question of being smart. Yeah, but if you are not smart and you are waiting for Jesus, going to the mountains to pray and thinking things will be okay, I mean, that's up to you. You could be on a mountain where when you are praying, down the mountain, there are diamonds. And then this man comes from across the ocean, they'll tell you, no, this mountain, there are diamonds. And they'll say, oh, no, for a long time we are praying on this mountain because you don't know. So you have to be smart to know what is it that is going on. So in terms of economics, I think when we talk about China, like I've said, I mean, they're investing into Africa. Yeah, but it's not for the benefit of Africans. It's for the benefit of the Chinese people. Yeah, so we can't be surprised that tomorrow people will be speaking Mandarin, Chinese languages. Now there are Chinese schools in Africa because the Chinese are smart. They want these African people to learn their language so that they can, you know, it's another way of colonizing people. Yeah, it's not about they're helping Africans. They're not helping anybody. We have to help ourselves, but we have to be smart to work with them.
I wanted to ask you also about the forest, the state of the forest, the state of the water and the trees and the birds and the animals. Are we seeing changes in climate that you are concerned about maintaining this this bank of medicines and nutritions and food sources?
I think climate change is real. Why the climate change thing is happening? It's the same thing. When we go back to the investors and those who came from across the ocean, like I said earlier on, when these people came, our forests, our rivers, our fishes, and everything were okay. But now, because of the so-called industrialization and the, creation of companies, industries, and whatever, they came in with equipment and all this kind of stuff, destroyed most of our forests, did whatever they could do. And then today, because of the system, the pollution that has happened, because of the industries that are across the ocean, you see that the climate change has taken place because of the same people. Yeah. If these industries that are in the Western world were in Africa, I think the people in the Western world will cry more than we are doing. So now they are coming back in the same way they came back. So, yeah, the whole thing here is, if I'm the same person who is coming from somewhere to come and destroy trees in your backyard, then I would have made money to come up with, something to teach you how to plant a few trees, just to replace them, to put on a mask that 5 years, 10 years from now, you are going to have so many plants. By then, I would have gone with huge sums of money. Yeah, but what is important is we can learn from all these mistakes that have taken place over the years. We have to also be ourselves by protecting the indigenous plants and whatever. But the problem again is with our governments and also the chiefs, because what is happening now, when these investors come, they'll go to the governments, then they'll tell them, no, we can give you space or we can sell you land. Then they'll connive with some of these African chiefs because they are poor. Then they'll go and remove you from your own, villages where you are born, and they'll tell you, no, this place has been bought. Somebody from maybe California or Germany, Berlin, they have come, is an investor. Then they remove you from your village. You have nothing, you see. So actually, for me, the people who are causing all these problems are the people that come from across the ocean. People like you, Mr. Rob.
Looking for a deal.
So, yeah,
fast money.
Yeah. So I mean, because our people don't have anything. So when you come across here and start up something, you start cutting our trees, you start doing a lot of things, and then you start putting up a program to teach how to plant trees. Because a tree, if you cut a tree that has taken time to grow maybe for 100 years. So in short, you are saying, plant this tree and take care of it for the next 100 years. Me, I'm gone. Okay? It's a simple mathematics. I'm gone. That tree will take you 100 years. The guy has gone back across the ocean. Yeah. So these are the problems that are there, because people are poor. I mean, the leadership is poor. We don't have any leadership in Africa. Like I said earlier on, African politics, I'll repeat this, is like a dog with a tail. Because the dog doesn't know it has a tail, and the tail does not know that it belongs to the dog. So this is the issue.
It sounds like you're running for president.
No, I may sound like, but I cannot tell now. It's a question of time will tell, because what is important is, connectivity, influence, people, numbers. Because if you are going to do something, you need to be connected, or you need to be linked to the people by coming up with programs that can help people. I'll give you a situation right now where we see a lot of used clothes coming from the Western world, okay? These clothes, they are collected by pretending that they are coming to Africa to help Africans. So the people in the Western world who are smart, they've organized themselves in certain programs by collecting in the name of HIV, collecting in the name of liberation wars and whatever. So once these things are collected, they have bigger shops like in Stockholm, in Fredsound, Copenhagen, Berlin, and other places where they sell these things. The local people in those countries buy those things thinking they are helping. When they buy these used things, the money will go to Africa. It doesn't come to Africa. These guys they buy jets, they buy ships, they buy land, and then the leftovers that are left, which are tagged with prices, they are the ones that are sent to Africa. So when they come here, they'll still put them in the shops and sell, telling the people here, when we sell these things, the money that we are going to get from here, we will go and bring out some more clothes. So where does the money go? The money follows the ones who are behind the whole thing. So it's a mask. So there are a lot of deals, and I know certain organizations that are into that, who are making big money even here in Africa. One of them is UFF, or DAPP, Development Aid from People to People. In Denmark, it's called UFF. These are mafiosos, you know. They are putting on masks like they are helping Africans. They don't help Africans. If you do a research go and find out who UFF or DAPP is. Right now, as I speak, the boss for UFF lives in Mexico. You know, he's been looked. The CIA, the FBI, and whatever, they've been chasing him. So there are a lot of deals going on around the world where Africans, you know, have been used. Yeah. So yeah, the issue of politics. Most of the politicians that we have, they don't know anything in this Africa, or actually in Zambia.
Did you learn about indigenous healing? Did you learn about indigenous healing from your grandfather?
Oh yes. Yeah. So my grandfather was advisor to one of the chiefs who is now late. Yeah. So he knew a lot of things. So most of these things are kind of family. You know, you learn from the elders down. So now what we're trying to do is, because most of this indigenous knowledge was with the elders. So when they die, because it's not written anywhere, so they die with that knowledge. So those of us who've been to school, what we do is we have to document. So we are documenting this kind of knowledge so that in future, probably we can come up with something that will be able to educate others. So it's a question of trying to educate others through books and certain material or proof of works to show that these things can be done.
Now, you mentioned the McCain Foundation as a potential sponsor of your work. Do you have something that you would like to say to them or another similar group that would be able to support your human rights work in conjunction with the medical side and the agriculture?
I think right now, as we are talking, we have huge pieces of land acquired from royal establishments, where if there were some people out there or institutions that we can partner with, they can come. They are most welcome. That we can put up. I'll give you an example, like I've said earlier on. If you are able to train 1,000 youths per year who would be able to grow tomatoes or keep beehives, I think whatever the products that will come out from there, the institution will be able to buy, package it, and add value, and then sell locally or export, and then build more schools, more clinics, add value to the life of the indigenous local people. Because there are a lot of people out there in the Western world who have finances or resources that are scared because of ignorance. Yeah, living in Europe doesn't mean that you are smart. Yeah, there are a lot of ignorant people who are in Europe. I've seen, like I told you earlier on, I've seen people in Europe who cannot write and read. Even now, they are there, but they put on a mask, probably because of their color, and pretend they write. Yeah. So if an African today, somebody met somebody from Europe who cannot write and read, they'll be shocked. Sometimes they can even collapse and die because they believe every person from Europe is able to write. You know, they can write and, as long as they speak English or whatever, French or Portuguese, then they're educated. But there are people who cannot write, who don't know anything. So what I'm trying to say is we have to work together, those who can write and who cannot write. So if we have resources, we should be able to bring these resources, because to tap into the knowledge of the locals and come up with certain institutions that will be able to help, so that our legacy, even if we are not there, they will say that, oh, Mr. Robert came from Europe and he started up this kind of a program, and now there's a foundation in the name of Mr. Robert Lunda or Mr. James Thomason or whatever it is. This will go on. Look at David Livingstone when he came. Yeah, they had other intentions, but of course, when you look at David Livingstone's name, it's there. We have Livingstone here as a town where there's the Victoria Falls. You go to Malawi, you are going to find Livingstonia. There's a town called Livingstonia and other places, because these people came, even if they had bad intentions, but their legacy. So you can come in an area. We talk about China today. Tomorrow, 100 years from now, China is going to leave legacy. Okay? So investment, if there are people, like right now as I speak, Zambia is one of the best countries. There's a lot of resources and with a lot of people who are humble. We've had peace, no war at any time. So if somebody is thinking of investing into the locals, indigenous people like us, and they've got finances, the best is agriculture. You will never go wrong in agriculture. You can invest into agriculture. You can do beekeeping and all this kind of stuff. If, for example, you go in a certain area where you have 100,000 beehives, because one beehive is going to give you 20 kg of honey. So this honey, I'll tell you one thing. Zambia at some point is exporting. I know somebody here, a certain person from Switzerland, who has 90,000 beehives and is exporting that honey to the Western world. It's the best honey. And most of this honey ends up in the Middle East because they don't have it. Because in the Middle East, every house must have a bottle of honey. So we have all these things, but we don't have people who can come in. If they are coming in, what they do because of ignorance, they go to the government, and then the government will swindle them. And this is right. So because those guys in front, they want to be fat. The best way is to identify people like us. You can go together with them. There's a piece of land, talk to the chief. You can do it from there and then rise up. You can't go to the government, because you go to the government, the government doesn't know everything. Right. Yeah, the government is the people. Yeah, so most of the people in the Western world, they think the government is the one who knows. If you want to do better, come down on the ground. You can come as a visitor, go with somebody to the chiefdom. You'll see the land from there, do the paperwork. Then you go and get your papers from the government without alarming them. You get your piece of land, huge pieces of land. It's there. We have land here in Africa, in Zambia, where even from the time when God created it, nobody has been there. You see? So this is the potentiality that we have. Yeah.
And how does someone contact you personally?
I can be reached. I have a number. My number is 260 979 611 545. 260 979 611 545. That's my number. Yeah, somebody can call or through you, Mwanta Rob. I think you'd be the best person because you are a celebrity, an Emmy Award winner. Of course, will stand. You are there. You are the big guy. So they can call you. They can call me. I mean, this is an open
Sure.
thing. And then my email, of course, is at mupila@gmail.com. So basically, I think they can get in touch with you. I mean, since we're working together, on this.
Of course. Of course, I'm very pleased to work with you and help you to launch the enterprises that we've discussed, the growing of tomatoes, the agricultural support and education. This is very important in the United States as well. So we have a lot of interest in learning more.
Then the other thing I forgot to mention about, I was talking about the numbers in terms of old people in Africa or in Zambia per se. We have less than 800,000 people. And if you are 50 years in this country, there's no medication for you. There's no hospital, like in terms of the opposite of pediatrics. And then we are dealing with geriatrics,
Yes.
So the medicine that we are given, like me, I'm about 50. If I'm sick, I go to the hospital. There's no medicine. I'll be given medicine not to treat me, but just to cool down, temporarily. So if with the kind of indigenous medicine that we have, we can create something to help, as an alternative, that we can put up institutions like hospitals where there are herbal supplements and whatever that can help. That can be cheaper, because these trees, you don't buy them, they're already there. All you do is just manage them, get stuff, manufacture, bring in equipment, do all this kind of stuff. But when you are sick here in Zambia and most of the African countries, the only places you can go here in the Southern Hemisphere is to be sent to South Africa, in Durban or Johannesburg or Pretoria or Cape Town, where there's an establishment called Morningside. These are Morningside hospitals, are specifically meant to treat old people. Yeah, but it's not for all old people. It's for old people who've been presidents, ministers, people, who've stolen, from public coffers and all this kind of stuff. And most of these people are the ones who are sick. I can tell you one thing, that the indigenous local people who walk, they are not fat, they walk distances. So even illnesses, it's like you are jogging, you are training all this time. I mean, diseases now in Africa are more on the side of those people who have stolen a lot. It's a case. When you steal, you'll be sick, and then you need medicine. So that's why the indigenous local people, the poor people who don't have anything, most of the time they're not sick. Look at the COVID thing. Where has it killed more people? Is it in Africa or in the Western world? You see? Because most of these people have stolen from us. That's why they're getting sick. Okay? Yeah, when you steal from other people, you'll be sick. So equally, we need to establish institutions like hospitals where our local people, old people 55, you can put up an investment. I'll give you an example. If you establish a hospital for old people, you can make more money by investing in the youths. If you have per se 1 million youths that are able to pay 30 kwacha in the scheme, you design a scheme, they will give you 30 kwacha. So 1 million, in short, you are making 30 million kwacha if it's in our money, that you can reinvest, put in agriculture and other things. Because the people who give you the 30 kwacha, they will come 2 times in a year to do a medical checkup. That's an investment. When they hit 50, there's a coffee or copay. They will come in and they will not pay anything. This is just a simple example.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a simple example for people to understand out there. that there are people who can think also here. Yeah, I think that's where we are.
Thank you very much for your explanations of so many things, and I'm learning every day from you, and I'll look forward to going through this interview and organizing some of the themes a little bit and helping to present this onward to other people who can benefit. So I thank you, I honor you, and thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Rob. Vude Kalombo, Kisu Kisu Vude.
Vude Colombo, Kisu Kisu.